Good evening. My name is Michael Geisler, and as president of Manhattanville College, it is my distinct honor to welcome the classes of 2020 and 2021 Manhattanville College doctoral and graduate degree candidates to this joyous occasion, our 179th and 180th commencement. Please rise and direct your attention to the video screen for the invocation, which will be offered by Joy Pellegrino, our Catholic chaplain and director for the Sister Mary T. Clark Center for Religion and Social Justice. The singing of the national anthem by Manhattanville's Quintessentials will follow.
Greetings of peace, President Geisler, Board of Trustees, faculty, staff, graduates, and guests. In Psalm 118, we hear, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad." This long-awaited day is truly a gift to be celebrated. And so we pray, God of all creation, we give thanks for this amazing day, for the many gifts given and the ability to serve you with a sense of purpose. We ask that you bless these graduates for their hope, endurance, and commitment during these challenging times. Gift them with fortitude and strength to be risk takers in the days ahead for the sake of building your earthly reign as global visionaries. Help them to grow in their capacity and understanding that each one of us is created in your image and likeness, and to respect this wondrous mosaic of diversity. Enable them to recognize that authentic human interaction is found and flourishes in communities that embrace diversity, equity, inclusion, and justice for all. Through your abiding presence, we ask that you gift them with patience and the ability to wait on their dreams without anxiety because you continue to walk with them. Gift them with an ongoing desire to serve those who are marginalized, poor, and suffering. Gift them with gratitude for all who have supported them throughout this academic journey. And bless all of us here today, family, faculty, staff, and friends who rejoice in their many accomplishments. Graduates, you are valiants. You have been formed in this tradition. You have the gifts to transform our fractured world. And so I'd like to offer this invitation and challenge to you today. Go forth, be the change you want to see in our world. May God bless you today and always. Amen.
Oh, say can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we walked.
Thank you. Please be seated. We are here to celebrate the 179th and 180th commencement of Manhattanville College. Founded in 1841 as a Catholic women's academy by the Society of the Religious of the Sacred Heart, Manhattanville was located in Manhattan for the first 111 years of its history and moved to its current location here in Purchase, New York in 1952. The first graduate school, the School of Education, opened its doors in 1965. The MFA program in writing was added in 1991, and the School for Graduate and Professional Studies was launched in 1993. Candidates for the Master of Arts in Teaching, the Master of Science, the Master of Fine Arts, the Master of Education, the Master of Professional Studies, or the Doctor of Education, this is your hard-earned day of celebration, and we will celebrate. But before we get there, I would ask you to help me thank the faculty and staff of Manhattanville College for their untiring support in helping you achieve your goals, whether they be faculty in education, the School of Professional Studies, or the writing program, or staff in admissions, dining, student affairs, the registrar's office, the library, IT, the provost's office, the dean's offices, financial aid, institutional advancement, or facilities and operations. We would also like to thank Manhattanville's Board of Trustees and our wonderful Alumni Association for supporting our programs and for their loyalty to the college. And now it is our turn to thank you all for having made Manhattanville the school of your choice. This week, we are awarding 609 graduate degrees, 34 doctoral degrees in education, 180 degrees of Master of Arts in Teaching, 23 Master of Education degrees, and 245 Master of Professional Studies degrees. We are also awarding 18 Master of Fine Arts degrees in our creative writing program and 109 Master of Science degrees in our School of Professional Studies. We are proud of each and every one of you. No matter what the media may tell you from time to time, employers still and increasingly prefer to hire students with a bachelor's degree, even for entry-level jobs. And for the kinds of professional and leadership positions that are probably in the crosshairs of your job search, you need a graduate degree, a master's, or for top leadership positions, even a doctoral degree. So let me first and foremost congratulate you on having made the right decision when you signed up for a graduate education. My own daughter, having spent 4 or 5 years in the workplace in good jobs, but jobs with limited career opportunities, has just successfully completed her own first year of a master's degree in UX design at the University of Toronto, and we are proud of her decision to go back to school. And we will be even prouder when a year from now, we hope to be sitting where your parents are proudly sitting today, because she will have finished her graduate studies, and then we hope will go on to eventually make enough money to buy her father the nice boat he's been dreaming of for a lifetime. You may or may not like it, but as of today, you are part of this country's elite, part of our brain trust. But rank and status come not only with privileges, but also with an entirely new set of responsibilities. Those of you who will be teachers, remember that we count on you not only to be outstanding educators, but community leaders. In fact, in 19th and early 20th century Europe, and even in many small towns in America, the local teacher was one of the pillars of society, along with the mayor, the family doctor, the newspaper editor, the judge, and local business leaders. Some of that status may have been leveled a bit by our deplorable propensity as a society to model ourselves after empty-headed media personalities who attract attention solely by dint of their shrill lifestyles and the scandals associated with their names, instead of the likes of Maria Montessori or Helen Keller. But underneath the false glamour bestowed by supermarket tabloids and personality shows, the fact remains that we are more urgently in need of the kinds of teachers all of you sitting here represent than the false patina of an empty media shell. Teachers, you are still the pillars of the world, whether the world acknowledges this or not. You are the guardians at the gates of democracy, the defenders of data, the sentries of scientific inquiry. We may or may not trust our political leadership with our wallets and with defending the nation, but what greater trust is there that any society can invest in any single group of people than the care of their very future, their children? Writers, you give us ways of looking at the world through a different lens. You are also the keepers of our dreams, and therein lies an enormous power, but also, as is the case with teachers, an awesome responsibility. The narratives you weave, the characters you endow with life, even the simplest descriptive passages of the world you have internalized and flipped to make it external for our readers with an important inflection, all of these can merely transport us to an alternate universe, lulling us to sleep, turning us into somnambulists, or they can use that alternate reality to open our eyes to what we have always seen but never observed. I would bet that each one of us attending this ceremony here tonight can name one novel, one fictional character, one narrative that changed their lives, derailed them from the tracks they thought had been laid for them. For me, it was The Mysterious Stranger, one of the later, darker works by Mark Twain, one of the greatest American writers, a book that changed who I had thought I was, forcing me to look at my most sincerely held beliefs in a different light. That is the power you yield as writers. Use it well, but use it with discretion, and I wish you success in both endeavors. And for those of you who have completed a graduate degree in business, the reason why we at Manhattanville College have given you the opportunity to access design thinking is because it teaches you the 4 most important skills you will need as a manager and leader in the business world. Empathy, the understanding that your success is dependent on the contributions made by others, that failure is an inevitable stepping stone on the path to success, and that frequently the best leaders in any field are those who recognize that somebody else but they themselves may have the winning idea for a new product or a new software or a new marketing strategy. You are only as good as your team, and your team is only as good as you allow them to be. And one final thought. I charge all of you as leaders in your fields, teachers, writers, future business executives, to make your own very personal contribution to expunge from the minds of our children our collective imagination as adults and the interaction of work relationships in business, the original sin of American society, our society, the ugly legacy of racism. Black lives do indeed matter. Black Lives Matter. We have to repeat that important message over and over again until perhaps one day we can retire it, because there will be a generation of blacks and African Americans who will wonder what that phrase once meant, because to them it is a given that their lives matter as much as the lives of others. Let me explain what is at stake here via a slight modification to Pascal's wager, a famous meme of risk theory. Simply put, Pascal's wager suggests that whether you believe there is a God or not, you have nothing to lose and possibly a great deal to gain by acting as a decent human being in such a way that it would please God if there is one. So here is my variation on Pascal's wager. I don't know if after we die, there is a judgment of our actions as humans or not. But does it really matter whether I know there is a judgment or whether I doubt it? If there is a final judgment of how we acted during our lifetimes, would you want to face that judge having to admit that you treated other human beings with hate and condescension? Or even if you did not do so yourselves, that you allowed others to treat them with hate and condescension while you were standing by watching? Even if there is no such judgment, or if you do not believe in it, would you want to have to admit to yourself or to your children at the end of your life, I lived in a society suffused with racism and I did nothing to change it? That is the simple call to action and the urgency behind Mother Grace Damon's 1938 speech, Principles versus Prejudices, a nationally famous speech she gave to justify her decision as president of this institution to admit the first African-American woman to Manhattanville College. You have satisfied all the academic requirements for leaving Manhattanville College with a graduate degree and to become one of this country's elite. My final charge to you as president of Manhattanville College is to follow in Mother Damon's footsteps, to take action when you see injustice being done to others. It is that which will make you a valiant. I have every bit of confidence in you that you will meet that high bar. So, congratulations again. But before we go on to hear from our wonderful commencement speaker, I want all of you to please rise and join me in a big thank you to your families and friends who supported you and in many cases enabled you to be here and make it to this day. Let's give them a well-deserved ovation. At this commencement, we will be awarding 2 honorary degrees. It is now my privilege to introduce Judith Johnson's daughter, Pam, and granddaughter, Atira, as we award a posthumous degree to Judith Johnson. Pam and Atira, will you please step forward as President Deney reads the citation?
Judith Johnson has distinguished herself as a visionary educator who devoted her life to providing quality education to all children, regardless of their economic status, race, or religion. Judith was raised in public housing in Fort Greene, Brooklyn, where she learned firsthand how a good public education is essential to equity. Inspired by a teacher who recognized her extraordinary potential and who encouraged her to pursue her education, Judith went on to earn a sociology degree from Brooklyn College and a master's degree from New York University. She began her career as a teacher in New York City schools before moving into administrative and leadership roles for the Mamaroneck, Southern Westchester, Nyack, and White Plains school systems. In a career marked by many firsts, Judith served as the first woman and African-American superintendent of the Peekskill Public Schools from 2001 to 2011. In 2008, she was the first African-American to be named New York State School Superintendent of the Year. From 2012 to 2014, she served as interim superintendent of the Mount Vernon City School District. Judith was appointed to the New York State Board of Regents in April 2015, where she continued to advocate for policies designed to help all students realize their potential. The impact of Judith's vision and leadership went far beyond New York State. In her role as Deputy Assistant Secretary and later as the Acting Assistant Secretary for Elementary and Secondary Education in the Clinton administration, she helped create national policies that promoted school reform and the turnaround of failing schools. While most of her peers were settling into retirement, Judith resumed her doctoral studies at Manhattanville at the age of 75, designing a case study of processes used by the New York State Board of Regents for developing and implementing public school accountability policies. A lifelong dedicated public servant, Judith served on numerous boards and national and state commissions, submitted testimony, and appeared before state and federal legislative committees. Through her final days, she remained a fierce advocate for educational equity and inclusion, viewing it as a fundamental right of all students and a social responsibility of all educators. She was an inspirational leader and an agent for change who impacted the lives of countless students.
Acting by virtue of the authority vested in us by the Board of Regents of the University of the State of New York and by the Manhattanville College Board of Trustees, and in recognition of Judith Johnson's contributions to the field of education and her commitment to equal education for all children, Manhattanville College is proud to bestow on her the Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, together with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining.
Well, in the bio that we sent out to Manhattanville College, we wrote for our beloved Judith that we referred to her as Regent Judith Johnson. Today, we officially give her the title of Dr. Regent Judith Johnson. Yeah. Thank you, Manhattanville College, for this outstanding honor by presenting my mom with her doctoral degree posthumously. She was developing her research concerning the process and effects of equity in policymaking, transitions into achievement gaps, the accountability to narrow the gap and widen the disparity in literacy and numeracy skills among our school-age students prior to her passing in 2019. Our dearest mother has been described as the best-known educator in the lower Hudson Valley. She fought tirelessly for decades to ensure educational equity for all students. Thank you for enriching her legacy, allowing it to live on as a reminder to others of her dedication and service. As long as we have a platform, your legacy will live on. Thank you.
We are pleased to share that the Manhattanville College School of Education has also established the Judith Johnson Memorial Award to recognize a doctoral student whose work reflects Ms. Johnson's legacy.
Our second special honoree for this commencement is Ethel Kennedy, class of 1949. Ethel Kennedy could not be with us today, but we are thrilled that her daughter, Carrie Kennedy, is accepting the award on her behalf and will also be delivering the commencement address.
Ethel Kennedy has distinguished herself as a lifelong advocate for human rights, a champion of social justice, and an activist devoted to ending oppression. Ethel Skakel Kennedy studied at Manhattanville College of the Sacred Heart, where she met Jean Kennedy, sister of Robert F. Kennedy. The two became close friends. 5 years later, they became family when Ethel and Robert married. Ethel helped in the successful presidential campaign of her brother-in-law, John F. Kennedy. Robert's appointment as U.S. Attorney General placed the couple at the center of the issues of the day, including civil rights, labor rights, and the problem of nuclear proliferation. Ethel was a stalwart supporter of her husband's legal and political career while caring for their growing family. She encouraged her husband's successful bid for the U.S. Senate and then his presidential campaign. She was a companion and a confidant while he championed federal programs to lift families out of poverty and as he visited countries around the globe. After the assassination of her husband, Ethel channeled grief into service by founding Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, the RFK Memorial. The nonprofit continues its work today, pursuing litigation on human rights issues, educating millions of students in advocacy, and training community organizers. Ethel has been a loyal ally to activists fighting to end oppression. She marched with Cesar Chavez, along with civil rights activist Dolores Huerta and Representative John Lewis. She marched to end child labor in India and human rights abuses in China. She demonstrated outside the South African embassy, visited unjustly convicted prisoners in Mexico, and confronted dictator Arap Moi in Nairobi about human rights abuses. She sat with Native Americans at Alcatraz and with Sister Diana Ortiz on a hunger strike to protest torture in Central America. She worked to clean up the Anacostia River in Washington, D.C., and was key in freeing 2 environmentalists from prison in Mexico. At 87, Ethel led 500 farm workers protesting labor abuses. She has worked with numerous human rights organizations. She is a recipient of the Robert F. Kennedy Medal and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. Perhaps her most valiant and impactful role has been that of mother, grandmother, and great-grandmother, and she has clearly passed along her passion for activism to succeeding generations. A fearless advocate and humble servant for humanity, Ethel Kennedy is the embodiment of Manhattanville's mission, which seeks to educate ethical and socially responsible leaders in a global community.
Acting by virtue of the authority vested in us by the Board of Regents of the University of the State of New York and by the Manhattanville College Board of Trustees, and in recognition of Ethel Kennedy's contributions to the advancement of social justice and human rights, Manhattanville College is proud to bestow on her the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa, together with all the rights, privileges, honors, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining.
To further honor Ms. Kennedy, the doctoral program is pleased to announce the creation of an Ethel Kennedy Award for Human Rights Leadership to be offered to a doctoral student who has advanced to candidacy and whose research focuses on a topic related to social justice leadership.
It is now my pleasure to introduce our commencement speaker, Carrie Kennedy, who is accepting this honorary degree on behalf of her mother and esteemed alumna of Manhattanville College. Ethel Kennedy, who graduated in 1949. The Kennedys have been a part of the Manhattanville family for more than a century, beginning with Rose, who graduated in 1910. As you will hear from Carrie Kennedy, Ethel Kennedy is a courageous, extraordinary woman who had spent most of her life in public service, working to help those in need across this country and around the world. She instilled this commitment to public service in all of her children, including Carrie, who serves as the president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights, and whose extraordinary life and career are detailed in the program. While we know that Ethel was inspired by her husband, Robert F. Kennedy, to become a human rights advocate, we also know that the values instilled in her at Manhattanville College helped shape her commitment to being an ethical and socially responsible leader in a global community, true to the current mission of the college. Please direct your attention to the screen for our special commencement by Carrie Kennedy, which was filmed last week at the Kennedy compound in Hyannis, Massachusetts.
Hi, I'm Carrie Kennedy, president of Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights. I'm so delighted to be with all of you today. You can call me President Kennedy. President Geisler, distinguished faculty, honored guests, friends, family members, and graduates, thank you for recognizing Ethel Kennedy with this honorary degree. Graduates, it is great to be here with all of you. You sat through the classes, drove the taxi, bussed the tables, scooped the ice cream, paid the bills, braved the cold, boarded the trains, crowded the elevators, read those books, completed the homework, wrote the papers, aced the tests. And then you wore the mask, mastered Zoom, worked from home, gave up campus activities. Through it all, you prevailed. You made your parents proud. Congratulations. When I asked President Geisler what I ought to say today, he said, tell them how you got involved in human rights. Well, I have 7 brothers and 3 sisters. I'm the 7th of 11, and when you come from that far down the line, you have a keen interest in human rights from a very young age. I'm especially honored to accept this honorary degree on behalf of my mother, Ethel Kennedy. When I told her about the degree, she was delighted and asked me to express her profound gratitude. I asked her to tell me about her memories of Manhattanville, and she reminded me that my Aunt Jean Kennedy was her roommate at Manhattanville, and they plotted to have their 2 families meet on a ski mountain in Mont Tremblant. That's when my mother met my father, and she was smitten. So I am here today because of this wonderful college, and very, very grateful indeed. After the success of that first caper, Mommy and Jean plotted future escapades, including going to see my dad play at the Harvard-Yale game. Unfortunately, they had accumulated too many demerits, and they knew they would be forbidden from leaving campus. That very night, someone, who shall remain nameless, tossed the demerit book down the garbage incinerator. Problem solved. That was my mother's first foray into setting prisoners free. Years later, she helped emancipate jailed human rights activists from Cuba to Kenya to Mexico. Right after their wedding, my parents moved to Charlottesville, Virginia. Daddy was attending UVA Law School and invited Ralph Bunche, the first African American to win the Nobel Peace Prize, to speak. No hotel would allow a Black person to stay, so my parents invited him to spend the night. White supremacists amassed outside their tiny home, shouted racial epithets, and hurled Molotov cocktails at the windows. That terrifying encounter left a deep impression on both my parents and inspired their work in civil rights. Some of my earliest memories are when my father was the Attorney General at the height of the Civil Rights Movement, and my parents really didn't separate their home life from their work life, so there were always civil rights activists and farm workers and Indians who were at our home advocating on various issues. My mother used to take 6 or 7 kids and pile us into her convertible along with a couple of dogs and a football and bring us down to the Justice Department to visit my dad, and we would run around his office. And then our favorite thing was there was a secret passageway from the Justice Department to the FBI building, and we would go in that passageway, come up into the FBI building and then watch the sharpshooters at practice. Now, the head of the FBI at the time was J. Edgar Hoover, a man not known for his love of children or his sense of humor. And so one day we were watching the sharpshooters, and my mother noticed a suggestion box in the bottom of the FBI building. So she took out her telltale red pen, wrote a suggestion, and put it in that box. Then when she was gathering up all the kids and the dogs and the football and bringing us back to the Justice Department, a very astute FBI agent went and took her suggestion out of the box and ran it up to J. Edgar Hoover's office, who read it and then had it sent to my dad's office. So when we were walking in the door, my father was reading the note from my mom, and it said, "Get a new director." That was an early lesson in the importance of speaking truth to power and doing it with a sense of humor. In 1968, Daddy was running for president, and he was killed by an assassin and fell into my mother's arms. She found herself a widow with 10 children to raise and 3 months pregnant with the 11th. With the might of a tornado, she taught us to swim and sail, dive and ski and toboggan and sled, play football, freeze tag, chase one, chase all, and much, much, much more. She made us recite a poem every Sunday night at supper and showed us to love the written word. She drove 6 carpools a day. She prayed on her knees every morning and went to Mass every day. Under her tutelage, we prayed before and after breakfast, lunch, and dinner, read the Bible each evening, and said the rosary every night before we went to bed. Raising 11 children is enough for anyone to deserve an award. But being engaged in social justice was a basic pillar of my mother's value system. Mom founded Robert F. Kennedy Human Rights in order to advance her late husband's vision of a just and peaceful world. During the first decade, the organization trained community organizers who worked in impoverished neighborhoods across the country, setting up systems that would overturn the entrenched powers of oppression. They started the first Native American-run school in the country, one of the most influential Spanish-language radio stations, and one of the major urban gardening programs in New York City. In 1969, when Native Americans took over Alcatraz Island and held it for 19 months, they invited only one white person to join them, and that was my mother, and she went. When Cesar Chavez ended his second great fast, he asked my mother to join him at Mass as he ate the Eucharist. Mom marched with Cesar, Dolores Huerta, and John Lewis. She marched to end child labor in India and to stop human rights abuses in China. She sat with Sister Diana Ortiz on a hunger strike outside the White House to protest torture. And at 87 years old, in a wheelchair, she led 500 farm workers up posh Worth Avenue in Palm Beach, Florida, to protest against labor abuses by fast food giant Wendy's. When my sister Rory was 14, she asked my mother's permission to protest apartheid, saying demonstrators were being arrested. My mother not only agreed, but drove Rory to the protest itself. Rory says, "The police handcuffed me and were shoving me into the back of the paddy wagon. I glanced up into Mummy's eyes. I never saw her look more proud of me than at that moment." Mom is a wonderful mother, a woman committed to social justice, and a person of deep faith. Manhattanville played a pivotal role in her formation, and it capped off 16 years of Catholic education in which she learned that here on earth, God's work must truly be our own. She believed that outrage at injustice, well directed, can be a force for revolutionary change, and she never failed to speak truth to power. But righteous anger alone cannot realize our greatest ambitions for our world. We need more. We must harness not only our anger, but most especially our love, because we will not be satisfied merely with a world that is just. Our dreams reach far beyond fixing what is broken. We strive for a world of compassion and peace and respect for each other, where every person is celebrated as a child of God, where all of our talents and abilities are able to shine because each of us has found that cause that makes every day worth living. And that world cannot be built on righteous anger alone. That world can only be built on love. So graduates, when you are at a crossroads and wondering what to do, call to mind Ethel Kennedy, and like her, use your talents to make our world better, more just or peaceful or verdant or beautiful or gentle or compassionate, and love your country. In that vein, and in honor of her love of poetry, I would like to end with these lines from my favorite poet, Langston Hughes. He wrote, "Let America be America again. Let it be the dream it used to be. Let it be the pioneer on the plains seeking a home where he himself is free. Oh, let America be America again, the land that never has been yet and yet must be. The land where everyone is free, the land that's mine, the poor man's, Indians, Negroes, me, who made America, whose sweat and blood, whose faith and pain, whose hand at the foundry, whose plow in the rain, must bring back our mighty dream again. We, the people, must redeem our land, the mines, the plants, the rivers, the mountains, and the endless plain, all the stretch of these great green states, and make America, America again." So graduates, as you leave here today, hold fast to your courage and your commitment and make America, America again. Thank you.
We thank Carrie Kennedy for her inspiring message and for taking the time out of her schedule during her sabbatical to give this address to honor her mother. And now, Manhattanville 2020 and 2021 graduate and doctoral degree candidates, we have reached the moment for which you have all worked so hard. I call upon Provost Christine Daney and the Dean for the School of Education, Dr. Shelley Wepner, to present the 2020 and 2021 Manhattanville College candidates for degrees.
Will the candidates for the degree of Doctor of Education please present yourselves at this time?
President Geisler, I have the honor to present these candidates for degrees and to certify on behalf of the faculty that they have fulfilled the requirements set by the college for them.
Acting by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the University of the State of New York and by the Manhattanville College Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree of Doctor of Education and admit you with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. Doctoral candidates will now be hooded by Dr. Susan Iverson, Professor and Director of the Doctoral Program in Educational Leadership.
Garfield Charles, Doctor of Education, 2021. Caitlin Sassone, Doctor of Education, 2021. Christine. Thank you. Christine M. Arlt, Doctor of Education, 2021. Natasha Maureen Freeman Mack, Doctor of Education, 2020. Dorinda E. Sawyer, Doctor of Education, 2021. Bernadette Jones Kingsley, Doctor of Education, 2021. Martin D. Cox, Doctor of Education, 2020. Marco F. Pocantesta, Doctor of Education, 2020. Nicole N. Joseph, Doctor of Education, 2020. Shayna Marie Yutze, Doctor of Education, 2021. Ivy Tilson Rentz, Doctor of Education, 2020. Raymond Dardo Gonzalez, Doctor of Education, 2020. Janette Encarnacion, Doctor of Education, 2020. Natalie L. Allman, Doctor of Education, 2020. Kenny Bell Pina, Doctor of Education, 2020. Charlize R. Smith Rodriguez, Doctor of Education, 2020.
Congratulations again to our new Doctors of Education.
Will the candidates for 2020 and 2021 master's degrees present themselves at this time?
President Geisler, I have the honor to present these candidates for degrees and to certify on behalf of the faculty that they have fulfilled the requirements set by the college for them.
Acting by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Regents of the University of the State of New York and by the Manhattanville College Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the degree of Master of Arts in Teaching, Master of Education, Master of Professional Studies, Master of Fine Arts, Master of Science, and admit you with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining.
Desiree N. Eason, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Elizabeth Dalton, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Carla Iannucci, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Vanessa T. Mairayano, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Emma Pocantesta, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2020. Olga L. O'Neill Brown, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Edgar M. Campoverde, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2020. Samantha Lindsay O'Keefe Kane, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Ashley Rose Eklund, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Derek J. Broomleave, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Brooke Isabella Boosie, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Jacqueline A. Sandberg, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Meredith C. Mason, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Noelle Carol Stella, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Anthony F. Locascio, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Christina Nicole Santini, Master of Professional Studies, 2020. Nicholas G. Marson, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Ramon Viruet, Master of Science, 2021. Tara Hayes, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Genesis Moskira, Master of Science, 2021. Abwazi Ejapong, Master of Science, 2021.
Donald O'Connell, Master of Science, 2021. Maureen O'Connell, Master of Science, 2021. Brooke Abbott, Master of Science, 2021. Monique Varsamis, Master of Education, 2021. Shayna Couvert, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Catherine O'Neill, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Annie So, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Jalisa Ramirez, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Catherine Rorman Garcia, Master of Science, 2021. Janet Morales, Master of Science, 2021. Ana Lucia Nardelle, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Fabina Maria P. Pulano, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Jennifer Pereira, Master of Science, 2020. Natalie Alicia Bolden, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Diana Rubostelli, Master of Science, 2021. Dylan Taylor Vrychik Zigulbum, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Carly Brianna Ferguson, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Robert DeLacio, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Lindsay Sherwood, Master of Professional Studies, 2020. Kalpana Thenmali, Master of Professional Studies, 2020. John Rankamp, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2020. Jeffrey Lowachi, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Maria Orejana Gasper, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Cindy Estrella Vasquez, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Flora Tercios, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Margaret Rose Catherine Keogh, Master of Science, 2021. Samantha Ann Thusen, Master of Fine Arts, 2021. Benjamin Schultz, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2020. Lori Juliana Werner, Master of Professional Studies, 2020. Louis Lindsay, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Kevin Wong, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Cody Fiore, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Ivana Oklu, Master of Science, 2021. Caitlin Ariel Aviles, Master of Science, 2021. Ashley Marie Espinal, Master of Professional Studies, 2021. Okay. Michelle Stephanie Egvez, Master of Education, 2021. Jennifer Restropa, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Stanley Isaiah Veracane, Master of Science, 2021. Dejanay LeBron, Master of Science, 2020. Shaylin Mock, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Aisha Noel, Master of Arts in Teaching, 2021. Taylor Vogt, Master of Fine Arts, 2021.
Graduates, you may now move your tassel on your cap from right to left to signify the successful completion of your studies. None of us accomplishes anything of merit on our own. I would therefore like to ask our graduates to stand once more and face your special guests to say thank you for their support with a resounding round of applause. It is with pleasure and great pride that I introduce again the quintessentials. Please turn your attention to the video screens and join them as they sing our school's alma mater with a second stanza and arrangement by Professor Carmelo Comberiadi. The words are on the back of your program.
On the heights so proudly standing, strong against the blue, high towers gleam commanding, loyal hearts be true. For Manhattan will sing proudly, swell the mighty song, till the echoes ring out loudly, all the ages long. From the castle on the hilltop, up above the crowd, we hear tradition calling, valiant hearts are proud. For Manhattan will sing proudly, swell the mighty song, till the echoes ring out loudly, all the ages long.
Congratulations to our 2020 and 2021 graduates, and welcome to your new status as members of the Manhattanville Alumni Association. As you leave today, please remember that you have been admitted to the ranks of Manhattanville alumni and alumni with all the rights, privileges, and responsibilities thereunto appertaining. We know you will enjoy the privileges, and we hope there will be many. And you have the right not only to wear your master's or doctoral degree with pride, but to always return to campus as Manhattanville family. And you have the right to the support of our alumni office in maintaining the close friendships and relationships you have built over these past years. What we ask of you is that you help us maintain and enhance the reputation of Manhattanville by talking to your friends, relatives, and colleagues about the wonderful education you have received at Manhattanville, and help us recruit the best and the brightest in future years, as we have recruited you. In protecting the future of Manhattanville College, in enabling it to grow and gain in strength and reputation, you will also be protecting your own Manhattanville degree. And finally, And most importantly, please keep in touch and share your stories. Let us know when you've landed that fascinating new job or the exciting promotion you have received as the result of your graduate degree, when you have your first reading of your new book, when you've become superintendent of a school district, when you have clinched that financial deal, or when you have earned that new set of public honors and acclaim. We want to help you broadcast your professional accomplishments because your accomplishments are Manhattanville's accomplishments, just as Manhattanville's accomplishments are also your accomplishments. So I will not say farewell today, but au revoir and auf Wiedersehen. I look forward to seeing you again. This officially concludes our 179th and 180th graduate and doctoral commencement ceremony. Please remain in your seats as the graduates process out. Feel free to take advantage of our beautiful campus to take photos with friends and guests, but remember to remain masked except for a quick photo. You will have an hour to enjoy this beautiful weather before needing to leave campus. Thank you and Godspeed.